All right, for step one of CIPing the bottling line, we're gonna get a block and bleed set up and put it on the racking arm of this 208 tank or any open unvented tank. We will get our drain hose. That's usually out by the hoses. Tri-clamp gasket it to the end here and direct the end of the drain hose toward the drain. Then we're going to take our large supply hose, the orange hose, uncoil it a bit. This one we tri-clamp gasket to the bottom of the cone or the bottom of the tank. Next, we grab the clear braided hose. Uncoil it a bit. And attach it to the T of the block and bleed. To start out the run, we want the racking arm closed and we want the drain of the block and bleed open to the drain. All right, for step two, we're gonna take our water supply hose, hook it up to one of the side ports with a 90 and a valve. We'll keep this open because we'll be prepared to send hot water next. For step three, we're gonna start collecting hot water in the tank. We'll do that by switching the valve to hot and opening up the supply water. Now you should be able to hear water beginning to fill the tank. Make sure you have a sturdy platform or ladder to watch it fill with warm water. While we're filling with hot water, we're gonna wanna get our volume above the inlet of the racking arm. Once we collect our warm or hot water up to the inlet of the racking arm, we'll shut this off and go next door to the machine. Next step is to come over to the bottling line and turn on the main power and then give it a few moments to boot up. Once you hear the machine boot up and the caps move, you know it's ready to go and you can open up the valve 389. That last valve we opened was the return. This valve is the supply, and our next step will be opening this valve. This one doesn't have a number on it, but you can tell because it's the one in front of the sight glass between the pneumatic pump. Okay, all right, you ready? Yep. All right, the next step will be dealing with the screen here. And what you're gonna wanna do first is reset any faults that might be showing. Next, you're going to wanna click the hammer and wrench, go to setting, washing, filler on, and then click start. Start washing phases, click the check mark. Then you click enable heights positioning and you confirm. That confirm was making sure that the dummy bottles are on the line, and that's a process we do after every can run, so they should be there for your CIP. All right, the next step, we're going to want to turn the tank washing phase on. We're going to want to turn the acid washing phase on. The other three there should be off. And then we're going to click start washing phases. That's going to start moving the machine and pulling hot water from the tank earlier and flushing the system. All right, now we're going to turn on this pump. And this will actually get the water flowing through the lines and flushing the system. Now that the valves are open, the machine is on, all the buttons pressed, and the pump is on, we should start to see warm water flowing out the drain. Once you start getting warm water out of the drain valve, you can switch to start your recirc. Now that the tank is recirculating, we're going to want to add our liquid caustic Excel, and we fill it up to the middle line. You're going to want to wear your proper protective equipment. Make sure you have sure footing, and add your caustic to the recirculating tank. All right, now that we got the caustic cycle going, we're gonna let it run for about 10 minutes. In the meantime, we can clear our dead legs. So we're gonna wanna open 388 and close 389. Let that go for a little bit. This just clears that little dead leg in the T of the setup here. Then we're gonna wanna shut it back the way it was. The next dead leg we're gonna wanna flush with this 10-minute gap is this valve, M360. And this is a valve to the drain. We're gonna wanna just crack it. Don't open it all the way. Let some caustic flush out that dead drain, maybe a few seconds. Close her up. All right, now that our 10-minute caustic cycle has passed, I'm gonna go back to the screen here and press stop. You're gonna hear the machine stop. You're gonna notice that these on buttons are solid rather than dotted. And cut. Okay. Then we're gonna hit open, close, and start, and then start washing phases. Now that this phase is starting, we're watching for these pedestals to come up and press the dummy bottle buttons. We want that to happen 3 times. There it goes. So after the dummy bottles have flushed and rinsed 3 times, we're going to click stop. You're going to hear the machine stop at that point. Then we're going to click close. After we click close, we're going to turn on the circuit washing phase. Okay. 5387? Yep. Okay. Let me know when you're ready. Yep. Once the machine has stopped, the next step is to open up this red valve 385. Also, this red valve 387. And then this black butterfly valve, and you're going to want to open this slowly. The next step, we're going to come back to the screen and we're going to press start. Start washing phases. Go. You're going to see the machine start moving, and then we're going to go next door. All right, our next step is to come back over here. We're going to open to the floor and close the racking arm butterfly valve. This is going to allow all the volume in here to start draining through the system and into the drain. Once you've drained your caustic out of the tank, you'll notice the pump start to click quicker and quicker and quicker. You don't want that to happen very much. So now we're going to add more hot water to the vessel. So while we're filling this with hot water and the system is rinsing to the drain, we're going to want to collect water up to about the racking arm, and then we'll shut this off. All right, so right now we are rinsing the circuit washing phase. The next step is we are going to click stop. We should hear the machine stop. We're going to turn on the tank washing phase. That should automatically turn off the circuit washing phase. And then we are going to click open and close and start. Start washing phases, start. You might get a fault. You're going to want to reset any fault. Start again. It's got to do it. We're going to want to hit start again. Start washing phases again after I cleared the fault.
It's going to do it a couple times for whatever reason it does that. So
yeah. Okay. Now we're going to want to reset the fault again. Try to start it again. Still faulting on me. This may happen a few times. There it goes. So we're gonna run this phase and allow it to go through the dummy bottles 3 times again. Okay. All right, now that this has rinsed 3 times through the dummy bottles, we're going to want to press stop. And then we're going to close the dummy bottles. Then we're going to press start. Start washing phase. And now I'm going to go over and flush those dead legs again. All right, now that I've done that on the screen, I'm going to want to flush my dead legs again. To do that, I'm going to close 389 and open 388 only for a few moments. Then I'm gonna put it back to the way it was. For flushing this dead leg, we're gonna open 360 lightly and for a few moments. Then we're gonna close it up again. And this is just to clear out our dead legs. After the circuit washing phase, we should have closed this valve as well. So now we're gonna wanna switch our water from hot to cold. And then we're gonna wanna leave this on cold. Now that our water is switched to cold, we're gonna open it up at the tank. Now we're flushing the system with cold water into the tank and out the drain. Allow this cold water to fill our vessel up to about the racking arm. Once it's there, we're gonna close the drain and open up the racking arm for a cold water recirc, at which point we're going to add the sanitizer. Now that we've been filling this with cold water and flushing it and collected cold water up to the racking arm port, we're gonna shut off the drain, open up the racking arm to start the cold water recirc. Also gonna shut off the cold water input. Now that cold water is recircing through the bottling line, I'm gonna add about 1.5 cups of peracetic acid to the vessel. Make sure you wear your proper PPE and rinse and dispose of this properly. Now that we have the sanitizer circulating through the tank, we're gonna wanna press stop. You're gonna hear the machine stop. We're gonna wanna open, close the dummy bottles. And then we're gonna wanna press start. Start washing phases. Now we're gonna let the dummy bottles rinse through 3 times. Sometimes you might get a fault here for pressure. Reset it and start it until it works. Gonna hesitate on this one. There we go. Now it goes, and we're gonna want that to circulate and flush through the dummy bottles 3 times. Ready? Now we're gonna wanna flush the dead legs with a little bit of sani we have going. So I'm gonna close M389 and open M388 just for a few moments. Then I'm gonna close 388 and open 389 back up again, the way it was. Over here, we're gonna wanna flush the dead leg. So we're gonna very gently open 360 for just a few moments. Then we're gonna wanna close it. Now that these have flushed 3 times with sani, we're going to press stop. Close the dummy bottles, and then we're gonna turn on the circuit washing phase. We're gonna press start. Start washing phases. Now that those buttons have been pressed, we're gonna wanna open this butterfly valve. Once we've done that over there, we're gonna come back to the brewery side. We're gonna open the drain valve, and close the racking arm valve. This is going to start draining the sanitizer from the system. Now what we're going to do is switch it to the drainage phase, but before we get to that, if we ever have any questions about what to do next, there's these little eyes here. If you click the top little eye, it tells exactly what we need to do. If we have any questions, that's a little help screen. We'll escape that for now. The next step is to stop this, and then we are going to turn on the draining phase. That should turn off the circuit washing and the acid washing phase. And then we're gonna click start.
We need to open the proper valve.
Okay, we're not gonna click start yet. Then we're gonna go open some valves before we start it. Before we start this next phase, we're gonna have to open and close some valves here. We're gonna open the drain valve, which is valve 360. Never hurts to open every valve a little slowly. And we're gonna close these two red valves, 385 and 387, and we're going to open the red valve 384 and 386. We also want to make sure that 389 is open at this phase. Now that we have all of our valves open, and we can double check again by pressing this I, we're going to want to start. So we're going to press the start button, start washing phases. There might be some faults here. Just like before, we're going to want to reset them and try until it works. After all that, we're going to want to turn this pump off by flipping this little red valve. So after we've turned that pump off, next we're going to get to the pressurization phase. But before that, I want to make sure everything here is as is. We want to leave it as is until we're all done. So now that the system has drained its sani and finished its draining phase, we're going to click stop. And then I'm going to go over here and close the drain valve 360. So between stop and the pressurization phase, we're going to close this valve M360. Now that we've closed valve 360, we're going to want to turn on the pressurization phase. You can hear some things happening. We're going to want to click start washing phases. After about 15 minutes of the pressurization phase, you should notice that it's above 2 bar, and then we're going to want to stop this cycle. So we're going to click stop. So now that it's stopped after the pressurization phase, we're going to want to click end washing phases, and then we're going to want to turn this key to the left, and that puts it in neutral so we can use the manual runner. Now that the pressurization phase is over and we have the machine set in manual, we're going to be removing these dummy bottles. To do so, we turn them clockwise until they give. We collect these on the rolling cart. To move it, we press the green button and the black button. And we're going to repeat this step until we removed all the dummy bottles. Now that we've removed all the dummy bottles, we're going to go to this screen again. We're going to clear a fault. There's a fault because we opened the door. Now I'm going to confirm that we've removed the dummy bottles. Now it says machine running for lubrication pedestals. I click start. Start washing phases. Looks like I got another fault. Alarm selector and manual. Oh, I forgot to turn my key back. Let's clear that fault again. Go back, start washing phases. The next step is to close our send and return valve. So I'm going to come over here and close valve 389. And then I'm going to go to the front and close valve. I misspoke. We're not closing 360. I'm closing the unmarked, unlabeled valve here. The one between the sight glass and this blue pneumatic pump. All right, now we should be done with the sani cycle phase of the BottlerCIP. Screen should look like this. We know we're all done. If we're comfortable, we shut the machine off. So now that the machine is off next door, everything's off, good to go, cleaned, sanied. We're gonna disassemble these parts, put the parts back in their buckets, and we're gonna put a cap on the end of this braided hose and on the end of this orange hose, and then we're ready to hook up for our run the following day.
All right.